when a 10,000-seat stadium suddenly becomes a ghost town. Can you believe it? A stadium that had been roaring like thunder for 3 consecutive nights suddenly went completely silent, as if nothing had ever happened. That is precisely what occurred at Sobeys Stadium, Toronto, on the night of August 9th, 2026. Eala, the 21-year-old from the Philippines, saw her run at the Canadian Open come to an end following a 6-4, 6-0 loss to Swiss veteran Belinda Bencic. Just 73 minutes, a brutal bagel in the second set, and with that, the pulse of the entire tournament stopped beating. But this was no ordinary loss. This was a moment that exposed a truth no one in the tennis world dared to state outright. A player ranked outside the top 20 had become bigger than the very tournament she was competing in. Imagine this. Just a few days prior, the court was dubbed Little Manila. Philippine flags covered every fence, every stand. Over 10,000 spectators packed the venue for 3 straight nights. Tickets sold out in 30 minutes. And then, after a single match, everyone vanished, as though they had never been there. Tournament director Carl Hale, who witnessed the Eala Mania phenomenon firsthand, could only watch as the energy drained from the stands. The official X account of the National Bank Open posted briefly, "It was fun while it lasted." The question is, how could a girl who has never reached the world's top 10 create an attraction that far exceeds even Grand Slam champions? And more importantly, what happens to women's tennis when the Eala Effect disappears overnight? In this video, we will dive deep into the staggering numbers behind the Eala frenzy, analyze why the silence in Toronto matters more than anyone imagined, and reveal the shocking paradox between Eala and the very opponent who defeated her, Belinda Bencic. If you are someone who has followed Alex Eala's journey from the beginning, you understand why this moment hurts so much. And if this is your first time hearing about this phenomenon, trust me, you are about to witness one of the most incredible stories in sports in 2026. Before we move on, if you find this kind of in-depth analytical content to be what you're looking for, something that goes beyond the superficial highlight reels out there, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for Pro Tennis 360 right now. We don't just tell stories, we dissect the root causes of every phenomenon in tennis. Now, let's return to that fateful night. 73 minutes that decided the fate of an entire tournament. Let's be blunt, no one, including the National Bank Open organizers, was mentally prepared for what happened after that match. 73 minutes. That was all the time Belinda Bencic needed to snap Eala's incredible 7-match winning streak, a streak that transformed her from a little-known name into the tournament's biggest box office star. The scoreline of 6-4, 6-0 spoke volumes about the gap in performance on that day. The second set bagel was particularly ruthless, not because Eala lacked talent, but because it occurred right at the peak of unprecedented media frenzy and expectations. And here is what makes the story far more compelling than a standard loss. Bencic herself, having just defeated the darling of the crowd, had to stand before thousands of fans who were quietly weeping inside, because their idol's run had ended. I know most of you were cheering for Alex, but I still have to say it was great playing in front of all of you, Bencic shared after the match. It sounded like a polite thank you, but look closely, it was also a subtle acknowledgement that she had stepped onto someone else's court, won the match, yet still felt like an outsider in her own moment of victory. This is the exact paradox we will dig into throughout this video. Bencic, according to multiple reports, is a player who inherently prefers quiet conditions on court. She has previously shown clear irritation when crowds became too rowdy, even complaining to the chair umpire during a tense match with Coco Gauff at the 2025 China Open. Yet now, the very woman who once demanded quiet was the one who stepped into the loudest stadium a player outside the top 10 had ever created in North America and shut it down completely. The contrast couldn't be striker. Eala was energized by the crowd's roar. Bencic sought silence. One thrived on cheers, the other needed quiet to focus. And on one fateful night in Toronto, the seeker of silence prevailed, inadvertently securing the exact thing she desired, a silent, empty stadium.
This raises an uncomfortable question for the entire WTA. Should the future of tournaments depend on a single player capable of generating such an atmosphere? Or do organizers need to find ways to build more sustainable appeal that doesn't rely on one individual? This is not a criticism of Bencic. She simply did her job and did it exceptionally well. But the situation exposes a deeper truth about how modern women's tennis operates. Commercial draw and athletic talent don't always align, and when those two forces collide, the result can leave a massive void that no one anticipated. Do you think this is an issue unique to Bencic and Eala, or is it a sign of a broader problem in how the WTA markets and positions its tournaments? Keep that question in mind, because we will return to it.
The uncomfortable truth the WTA is silently facing. This is where we need to address the core issue that both organizers and the WTA are trying to avoid. Eala didn't just bring fans to Toronto, she was the audience. And when she departed, the tournament was left with a stark reality. A player had grown larger than the event itself. Carl Hale once referred to her as an absolute blessing for tennis and for our tournament. Those words, spoken just days prior, now carry an entirely different weight. Because a blessing that leaves is also a stark reminder of dependency. And the tournament is about to discover just how dependent it was on this Filipino phenomenon. Look across the border to Montreal, where the men's event struggled in the absence of Carlos Alcaraz, Johnny Sinner, and Novak Djokovic, three of the sport's biggest stars who opted not to play. Casual fans hoping to see top-tier players walked away disappointed. Matches felt subdued, with most of the remaining top 10 names. The contrast with the Eala Effect highlights the issue further. All the fans flocking to see Eala didn't help Montreal's economy, but at least Toronto was drawing extra visitors. The financial outlook for the Canadian Open will now need to be reassessed on a broader scale because Eala's impact carries consequences for the entire event. If she loses, the tournament risks losing its viewership as well. Analysts warned even before her elimination. Now, that warning has become reality. Organizers have Eala to thank for her time in Toronto. She brought people to the venue and drew tennis fans' eyes to their screens. When she exited, the energy exited with her. The question doesn't stop at the Canadian Open. The bigger question is, the WTA has a star who can fill stadiums, generate millions in revenue, and turn tennis tournaments into cultural festivals. But that star isn't a Grand Slam champion. She hasn't even broken into the top 10. And the WTA has no backup plan when she isn't around. Eala's own voice, "I'm just a drop in the ocean." What makes this story particularly moving is how Eala herself views everything that transpired. After her elimination, she took time to reflect on what the week meant to her and to the Filipino community. As you can see, I'm just like a drop in the ocean, when it comes to Filipinos and their pride in their culture and where they come from, she shared. Pause for a moment to take in the humility of that statement. A player who had just generated a ticket-selling frenzy unseen since the era of Serena Williams forced a tournament to alter its menu and brought tens of thousands of people to a professional tennis match for the first time in their lives, describing herself as merely a drop. I guess it just shows what kind of community we are, what kind of people we are, and how we support each other, she continued. The stadium was packed with people doing exactly that, celebrating their culture, their hero, and their community. I learned that they are very passionate, they are very kind. I learned that it's very multicultural. It's great to see tennis become a vehicle for them to come together and celebrate what they love, Eala added. This is where the narrative transcends a simple win or loss. This is no longer just about tennis. It's about a sport long dominated by Western powerhouses, opening its doors to new communities, cultures, and voices. Now, the tennis world faces a choice.
Will they embrace this new energy, this new crowd, this new phenomenon? Will they acknowledge that a 21-year-old from the Philippines, ranked outside the top 20, became the biggest draw in the sport? Will they adjust schedules, court assignments, and food offerings to accommodate the Filipino community that showed up in such overwhelming numbers? Or will they cling to tradition, to silence, and to the old ways? The answer will define the future of the sport. The quiet battles behind the scenes. What does the WTA really think? Let's dig deeper into what is happening behind closed doors in tournament directors' offices, where, according to industry sources, the Eala story is being discussed non-stop. We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 create an effect like this, Hale told CBC News earlier in the week. All the tournament directors are talking about this. Everyone in the industry is talking about it. Now, they are talking about it for a completely different reason. Consider the awkward dilemma this creates for the entire WTA system. For years, the organization has tried to build its brand around familiar top-tier names, Grand Slam champions who have dominated the rankings for years. Yet now, their biggest box office star is a rising player who has never won a Grand Slam and holds a relatively modest ranking. This isn't a scenario anyone in the WTA marketing department had mapped out, and it raises a sensitive strategic question. Should the WTA build its marketing strategy around explosive cultural moments like this, rather than relying strictly on world rankings? There's an inconvenient truth no one wants to state directly. The commercial appeal of women's tennis right now doesn't strictly align with ranking merit. This isn't unique to tennis. We've seen similar dynamics in other sports, where a young star, a compelling storyline, or a massive fan base generates influence far exceeding what standings suggest. For tennis, a sport that has historically treated rankings and achievements as the ultimate measure of value, the Eala phenomenon presents a profound philosophical challenge. What truly determines a player's worth to a tournament? Is it purely victories on the court, or is it also the ability to transform a sporting event into a cultural gathering and an inspiration for hundreds of thousands of people who have never held a tennis ticket in their lives? Tournament directors worldwide are undoubtedly monitoring what happens next. If Eala continues to spark similar reactions elsewhere, the WTA will be forced to confront this question more seriously than ever before. Not just in Toronto, but across its entire tour. Lessons from the silence. What lies ahead for Eala and tennis as a whole? So what happens next? That is the question not just Filipino fans are asking, but the entire tennis industry is asking. First, let's talk about Eala. Falling in the round of 16 after a 7-match winning streak is hardly the end of her career. It's a natural part of her development. No athlete, regardless of how talented, maintains peak performance indefinitely without occasional setbacks. The way she handled this defeat, with humility and gratitude towards the community that backed her, demonstrates impressive psychological maturity for a 21-year-old. For those tracking her journey, now is the time to look beyond a single loss. The preceding 7-match winning streak, the historic ticket sales, the recognition from legends like Andy Roddick, none of that disappears because of one 73-minute match. They remain proof of an impressive upward trajectory. The broader story lies elsewhere. Will the National Bank Open and the WTA system as a whole learn anything from this moment? The silence that enveloped Sobeys Stadium after Eala's exit wasn't just the conclusion of a match, it was a warning, a signal to tennis management that something fundamental has shifted and the sport will never be quite the same. Tournament directors worldwide now face a genuine strategic choice. Should they invest more in building cultural experiences around players with strong community appeal, rather than focusing exclusively on traditional rankings? Could this be the future model of tennis, where personal stories and deep cultural connections hold equal or even greater sway than pure athletic results? It's not an easy question to answer, and it will certainly provoke debate for months to come. But one thing is certain. The Eala Effect has proven that women's tennis is entering a new era, one where the power of community and cultural identity can create seismic shifts no one foresaw. Is the tennis world ready for the Eala era? So what does the Toronto story leave us with? An undeniable reality. Alex Eala is not just a talented tennis player, she embodies something much larger, a bridge connecting tennis to a community of hundreds of millions longing to see themselves represented on the big stage. She transformed a standard WTA 1000 tournament into a vibrant cultural festival, and when she left, the entire event felt that absence. Eala Mania was fun, Andy Rafika noted. When you have watch parties in arenas across the country for a fourth-round match, I am completely sold. The question now is the tennis world in that same mindset, or will they allow the silence to take over again? This is why stories like this matter, and why deep dive analysis, rather than skimmed highlight reels, provides a clearer picture of what is truly shaping the future of the sport. If you find this analytical approach valuable, this is exactly what Pro Tennis 360 brings you every week. Not superficial drama, but strategic, psychological, and cultural breakdowns behind every major moment in tennis. Hit subscribe right now if you want to keep following Alex Eala's journey from Washington to Toronto and whatever